Alrighty, my friends. So this is part three. So what is interesting is you gotta forgive me. My dogs are wrestling back there. Shh. Uh, in part three, what's important is we're gonna be talking about lifestyles and finding a way to live according to your lifestyle. This is something that's so highly personalized. So this is something that you have to pray on, meditate, or do whatever you need to do to find out what the right balance is for you. And I will say, as we get started, that what shh, what may work at one time might not work at another time because your priorities change. You might learn better ways to do something that you wouldn't do later on. So this could work now, or you have some new learning strategy, and then a year or two from now, you might find another strategy that works. I think this is something that you have to kind of soul search and follow the steps and do what's in front of you, just like as Jack Canfield said, which is cool because at a seminar company over a 2-year period, the president had me assist at 5 events, and I'm looking to come back this year, to assist at events. But it was an amazing opportunity to meet Jack Canfield and just how humble the guy is. And he said in The Secret, of course, basically that you only have to know what you're doing 200 feet out. And he said, that you attracted this, meaning the meeting. Like, as I talked to him, and it was just amazing just how humble he was. And he was basically saying, that you're creating your future, you're creating your destiny. So it's just this idea that you are literally building yourself into tomorrow in some ways at a physical level, right? At a soul level, it's interesting to see how this is all being played out. And it's interesting because I was listening to a program the other day, and they were talking about how you might have a dream that is from the past that's no longer relevant, and then you might have a dream, I want to add, that might be reinterpreted. I don't think it's necessarily an all or nothing type of proposition, that you have a dream and then it gets evolved, and you might say, well, I thought I wanted this in this way, and actually this is what I've noticed at this moment. It doesn't have to be definitive. I think what needs to be definitive for you is which way you want to go with it and where you want to be with it. And I think what I've learned is your lifestyle will change based on your needs and priorities. I mentioned a friend of mine, a former coworker at a place where I used to teach. He actually had twins with his wife, and they thought it was too late, and he was looking to get promoted. He was wanting to get promoted. I remember this. And what happened was he ended up having twins kind of by surprise, and it changed his whole life because he redesigned his lifestyle to accommodate the kids. Is that making sense? So if you accommodate your lifestyle and then around your family or however you do it, then that becomes the priority and everything is building around it. So whatever your priorities are, that helps you to design your lifestyle. You can do it the other way around, based on your position, and then your lifestyle is determined by the time left over. And I've been doing that for quite a while. And what I've learned is you don't have to do that, because you can get to a position to where you don't have to do that. And I'm actually in a position where I don't have to do that. And you always are in a position in some sense where you can or can, if you do or don't want to do something, and you determine for yourself what kind of life you want to live. So, for example, there's some people that I know what they'll do is they'll wake up in the morning, they'll pray or meditate, then they'll go swimming, all right? I have a good friend in New York. He actually does this. He goes swimming and he'll actually work out, meet with friends, spends time with family. He'll paint, do some online book stuff. I mean, this guy lives like an amazing life. Plus, he's a really an amazing person. At least that's what I think. And a lot of people also agree. The idea is that he's happy with his lifestyle, so it's going to reflect in everything he does. Now, this brings up another important point. I was just mentioning this in a seminar earlier this evening, a live seminar with the students, that it was a communication seminar, and we talked about this, that it's the energy. They were asking these questions. Today's topic was, how do you deal with bosses that may be difficult, or, in the medical or non-medical fields, or what do you do? And The thing is, your lifestyle is going to be determined by the boundaries you set. And it is true that if you say no to certain things, you might be closing doors on the one hand, but I think a lot of bosses respect the life balance. And I know that a lot of people would ask me while I was, for example, at the last place where I worked, would you stay over or help to supervise the campus because other people, for example, couldn't make it that night or had family obligations. So there's actually an article that kind of hints at that you have the flexibility if you don't have a family in particular, or whether or not you do it, that there's a certain kind of flexibility you have in terms of whether or not you can or can't do something, or do or don't do something. So that gives you a distinct advantage that you have to look really careful at wanting to give up. But what happens is there comes a point of diminishing returns. What I mean by that is, let's say, and I've seen a lot of people doing this, they design a lifestyle that's saturated, and then they squeeze. And I've done this. I don't want to say guilty, but I've done this, and I'm actually reworking my own life to where I'm giving myself the breathing room. And what I think what happens in our culture is that, and I mentioned the book Crazy Busy. I mentioned that there's this idea that we have to do everything now all the time. And there's two big influences, I would say. One influence was with Barbara Sher's book. She has really good books. One is called Wishcraft, and there's another one called I Would Do What I Knew How to Do If I Knew What It Was, something like that. And then finally books by Brian Tracy. And I remember listening to Brian Tracy back in 2000, what was it, January 2003, and his work changed my life. I heard about him through Robin Crow in Jump and the Net Will Appear, and then ironically, in 2.5 years after going to the library, listening to him, learning everything I could about his programs, I was invited through a company, seminar company, to assist. So I volunteered, I helped with ushering, but then I helped with product sales. I mean, things were flying off the shelf because then I have the psychology background, the training, motivational teaching background, and I assisted in helping to sell his items, just as a volunteer. And his stuff was so popular at that seminar. There was a 5 minute period, and I helped to sell $770 of items. I mean, this is how popular, and a lot of people were just rushing. And why I bring that up is because one of the things that he talks about, and it was amazing meeting him, you definitely sense that this man is like, well, at least I felt like, wow, he emanates something. And as the owner and the people, the heads of that seminar company also emanate. Just other people that you meet at those kinds of events. What I wanted to say was, he says that 40 hours is the minimum. And I get it. And that 40 hours is the minimum, and you have to do more for success. And this is some idea that's permeated in our culture. And to be true, to be honest, I think a lot of people do pay their dues initially. And you always are paying your dues. You're always working hard. But what I have seen, and actually I was in a seminar with a fellow presenter on this, and I primarily designed the presentation. We talked about downshifting, and it was a concept that I brought up while we were preparing. And downshifting is this idea we actually we downshift to rebalance our lives. So I've seen people, for example, that they have the kids, the one example I gave you earlier, and their lifestyle reflects their priorities. So I even had a mentor that I heard about a year or so ago. She actually, because she wanted to spend more time with her kids, she actually downshifted. I've also seen a lot of people doing things that other people would say was career suicide. But see, this is contrary, isn't it? Contrary to what, and I'm not trying to judge or characterize anything that might be in the seminar world that says success, 40 is the minimum, keep doing it. And even Brian Tracy talks about that he used to do seminars on the weekends, and he had Sunday off, and now he tries to balance it as best as he could. He said he said it in one of his tapes too, that he talked to his wife. I think at one of the seminars that I assisted him at, just through as a volunteer and product consultant. I think that he did also talk about that. But the point is, he himself started realizing that his message that he taught, that you do need the rest. And I think don't let anybody tell you that, okay, well, you need to work 40 or 50 or 60 or 70 hours. Everybody has a rhythm. I think what you may want to look at are the opportunity costs. So if you live a particular lifestyle, what are the opportunity costs for not having something? If you don't have a car, that's great, and you can use public transportation, fantastic. But what are the opportunity costs by not getting to work for a certain period of time, or if you're not working from home, or whatever the situation is? Things can change based on your priorities, what you're willing to get into or not willing to get into. And what I've found is in, traveling all over the world, and so I got a lot more places to travel, and I know there's people that have traveled to far more places than I've traveled to. It's just the idea that what you see when you, and those of you that are watching this that have done that, or maybe you're going to, you see that people are doing their own thing, like the Spanish bullfighter that I was roommates with in Spain, to the TV presenter there in Spain, or another place that I stayed, to the person that was in Brazil working at a coffee shop, or there was a coffee, sorry, factory. And, all these people are to the family that ran the butcher shop, to these people that just have these bizarre lifestyles that we could say are strange. But what I noticed about all of these cases, about their lifestyles and how they lived, and some people had cars, some people didn't. I lived with tons of families, host families, and interviewed a lot of people. Some people were musicians, dancers, models. What I noticed is whatever they did, or lawyers, or engineers, or just worked in, like they called them lanchonettes, like basically cafes and small, places, eating places. I've noticed that regardless of who the person was and how they lived their life, they had to find a contentment with their lifestyle. Isn't that interesting? So that seems to be the common denominator. So because people aren't going to all be doing the same things. I think Joe Vitale said, who I bumped into in Asheville, I saw him eating at a Mexican restaurant, and I just freaked out. I was like, oh my God, Joe Vitale. And he said hi. I talked to him. I said, "You're Joe Vitale." He said, "Yes." And we talked, and it was crazy how I just met him, and he's amazing. Also, just like the other people I was mentioning. So he talked about, I mean, essentially that at some level you attract everything and that you create your own experience. And this man went from homeless to, obviously being a huge influential motivational speaker to internet marketing, all these kinds of things that he's done, that he's promoted. I mean, just to so many other things. And he created the lifestyle that he wanted based on his thinking, his desires, his feeling, his behavior, how deeply he wanted it. It's just, so what I'm trying to say is and then I've assisted, like a politician, for example, here in the area. And all these people that you just see, or just whatever profession or whatever walk of life, you know this as a teacher, that you just work with everybody, don't you? And you learn from your students as they learn from you. But what I'm trying to say is that your lifestyle, the lifestyle that you create for yourself, does it turn you on? Does it get you excited? I mean, the way that you're living your life, assuming that you're having, of course, choices in the matters of how you want to live your life, and I'm assuming that many of you do, obviously, then I mean, how far, yeah, you design your lifestyle, okay? And then I don't want to say you're obligated to your lifestyle, yet you have to decide for yourself what it is you want to do, where you want to be, who you want to be doing something with, what do you want to have. You could think about who, what, where, when, why, how as you're designing your lifestyle. The other thing is, one thing I used to always do in the professional development classes that I taught live and online, I would always have the students imagine their imaginary day. Like, I'm very careful to say, who you want to be, because you obviously, it's great to be yourself, isn't it? Uh, but who do you admire that's out there in the field and that you would like to emulate, or what kind of characteristics or qualities do you admire? And it's interesting, it's fine to be your own hero, to learn from yourself and things like that, but it is also helpful to see, oh, there's that person, and I do like how he or she is living his or her life. And that's kind of your spirit. I mean, you might be doing something entirely different, but your spirit is drawing these experiences. And yeah, I noticed that this person's doing this, and that excites me. Oh, what they're doing is so great. And your reticular activating system will remind you that, hey, that's great, and I notice everything for it, right? It does energy arousal, nerve regulation, and goal setting, and it's in your brainstem. And then you start noticing things that can help you in your career or whatever path you're going on. Like, that's important because whatever you notice is what you're bringing into your life in a way, right? And so that can tell you when you think you're lost or you don't know what kind of lifestyle you want to live. The contrast, or knowing what you don't want helps you with the contrapositive. I would always say this for years, and I know a lot of people say this as well. And the idea is that you can design your lifestyle by not by knowing what you don't want, and that gets you towards what you want. It's still better to know what you want, and then you get that, yes, this is what I want. Doesn't mean that you stop. If you remember Davis Palladino's motivation theory, there's energy, arousal, and direction. So you still got to have the three prongs of motivation. That's just one model. So you got to have the direction, persistence, and arousal. So that's basically the path to go, the direction. Basically you're going that way. There's the arousal, the interest, and then there's the persistence, not quitting. So it isn't that, oh, I'm going to have this lifestyle and not do a darn thing to build it or to walk into it. It's just you unfold, yet you're also doing what is needed, the actions that are necessary. So it's absolutely fascinating because you create your life based on the way you want to move forward. It's so awesome to think about that you have a vehicle in which to shape your life and to impact others, and you have a choice on which vehicle you want to get on and or drive in. And so it's kind of like whether it's a company, it's a job, if you don't fall in love with just that identity, it gives you the freedom to kind of unhook. So you might say, well, I'm in this position right now and I'm going to move to this position. It's nothing personal. You don't have to, as Michael Neal says, hate a job to leave it. He's a great coach and he's on Hay House Radio and he always talks about this. And what is it called? It's effortless success. I think he talks about this in his CD program. He has a CD set that I highly recommend. That idea that you don't have to hate a job in order to leave it, and you probably wouldn't want to, and then you wouldn't want to say anything bad about them anyway, because to your next employer, they don't want you, or the potential employer, they don't want to hear that. So it's better to be positive and just sculpt the lifestyle you want based on your prior experiences and what turns you on. And Tim Ferriss, who Jack Canfield at the event told me about, and then I would study him. He has a 4-hour work week. A lot of you know about him. He talks about 6 months being, that's your frame, your time frame, because a lot of the parameters change. I had a good friend back some years ago. He would always talk about that, doing things in six-month intervals, because the parameters change. And so you can plan that I'm going to do this 10 years out. Do you really think that you're going to do it exactly this way 10 years out? We're assuming that also the world is going to stay steady exactly in the conditions that it is. I mean, if you think 10 years ago you didn't know that some of the stuff that was coming out today would be out, you know what I mean? So, or that your life would be impacted by something else or changes in the career. So you got to project 10 years out. Yet, and this was a great piece of advice from a mentor that I had, at an online university, and she said you always have to project 10 years out to kind of imagine what things are going to be like, yet there's a reality too of this. I learned that it's where you're going. So that being said, I mean, what kind of lifestyle do you want? It's like, do you want a lifestyle where you are surfing, and maybe you don't have to define yourself in one role, and this is the final piece. There's role strain, and role conflict. Role strain is where you have one aspect of your job. You might hire someone and fire someone, that you're a boss. When role conflict is, you might be a parent and then you might be a worker. So now these two, you haven't found a way to balance them out. One's taking away, you feel, time from the other. So I think keeping these role conflicts and the idea of role strain, in sociology everyone knows this, these ideas can be helpful in designing your lifestyle. Because then you can say, well, if I design my lifestyle like this, I'm going to be a surfer, meditate in the morning, pray, or go back to school, or whatever you want to do. How is everything kind of in flux? Or which one are you going to be spending more time in on this day? And Barbara Sher is really good about that in her books that I was mentioning earlier. She talks about, well, you don't have to do it every day. Like if you're doing a bunch of things, you don't have to do them all on Monday. You could have something that you're doing on Tuesday, you could do something on Wednesday, and then move on and do something on Saturday. So I think that looking at your things in a whole holistic fashion is very helpful. I actually have this iPad, and this iPad is pretty amazing. What it actually can do, I want to show you, is, okay, watch this. So you can literally set appointment. Here we go. Let me show you something. So look at this, set appointment. And essentially, well, I just had it earlier, I still got to figure it out. You basically can punch in calendars and verbally say things, and then kind of sculpt your schedule and your lifestyle and kind of move things around. I was going to actually return this because I just got this and I was kind of like, I don't understand how to use this thing. I gotta spend the time to figure it out. But this thing will help you to see visually, just like a paper. You could also have a paper and pencil based calendar system. You got to visually see how you're spending your time in the different areas, in the different quadrants of your life. You take mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual and kind of break them down into the sub goal areas that you want. Everything from adventure goals, maybe to relationships, right? Because the emotional would have a breakdown of the relationships, for example, the different ones you're in. And then you want to see, well, how am I spending time? Am I planning time with my parents or my girlfriend or whoever it is for you that you want to plan time? Or, am I planning time for my hobbies? And then it's harder to make excuses. And a lot of times when people are in school, I have a lot of students that they try to balance their family time out, they would say, but they don't have the easiest time doing that. But sometimes they have an understanding person that helps them to adjust to the student lifestyle by doing dishes or cooking or ordering in. And I think the family can be on board in helping you to maintain your lifestyle. I think you don't have to exclude them. You don't have to say, well, I'm going to design a new lifestyle and it's not good. You can, I mean, but it's not going to include this person, this person, this person. I suppose you could do that, but who is it going to include? How are you going to move forward? Which family members? What do you want to do with your family members? If you're trying to increase quality time with your family members, what are you going to do? Where are you going to go? What activities do you want to do? Where do you want to travel to? And you start looking at everything visually, and you realize, oh, okay, I'm living my life now. Um, some weeks ago, it was actually a couple months now, almost a couple months. So last month from now. So about 4 to 6 weeks ago, I was in a car accident, and my car was totaled. The insurance company declared it totaled. And when I was in that accident, I was very lucky because there was no oncoming traffic. I was literally coming down. I had my brakes, and the car slid across the street, slammed into an embankment, was totaled. And I realized to myself, boy, my life is pretty busy. That my lifestyle is pretty busy. I was very lucky, being that I work from home. So I felt that I was okay. I missed a telephone pole too, was a little bit in, and people stopped and helped. And I realized that, wow, this is a. I took that as a sign that it was time to slow down. And these things happen. What are you gonna do? It's black ice in the snow. So, I'm grateful to everyone that helped and the officer and everything, the whole department. And I realized how, after that, I said, how am I going to redesign my lifestyle? So then I had the seminar, which was coming up. And I had, obviously, somebody assist me with that too, a little bit. And we did the presentation. And I said, well, I'm going to walk my talk and redesign my lifestyle. And I think that's something that we could all learn from, that whatever you have that's a stopping point in your life. Do you follow what I'm saying? That this is a stopping point in your life where you actually are going to say, well, I'm going to do this now, or I'm not going to do this now. This works for me, or this doesn't work for me. And you kind of get that wake-up call. And I said to myself, wow, I'm going to take this as a lesson. I'm going to slow down, and I'm going to reevaluate things. So hopefully that's what you're doing. And just study whoever's doing whatever they're doing, all the different roles that are out there that we spoke of. What excites you, and what's your unique fingerprint that you're going to put? How are you going to change what you're doing a little bit to make it more exciting, to have an impact on human society and just in the world? And where are you going with it? It's fun to kind of see, isn't it? To see, as you create this work-life balance or educational balance in your own life, to see where you're going to go in your life and what kind of contributions you're going to make. It's absolutely fascinating. And I wish you the best in whatever you do. And if you wanted to share anything below and share how maybe you made a life change or transition and downshifted, or made like a lifestyle change, that would be interesting. I may go later on in another video clip on downshifting specifically, and ways to save as you're kind of going down. You don't have to be a minimalist as you're downshifting. You can do that, does help. You could do different things. You could take some of your creature comforts and some of your minor materialistic ways, right, to as you downshift. So as you change your work, your education, or your career balance, or whatever you want to say, it is interesting to think about and to design the lifestyle that turns you on, because as you let go of any past energy, you're grateful, thank you, you literally are looking at that in a positive way. You let go of the energy of your previous position. You look at it with love and light, and you're just kind of saying, okay, it's time to move on. And so you don't have to hate it. But what's going to be interesting is you're going to create a vacuum because you don't have that energy. You've blessed it. You're grateful that position's on, and like it's kind of like a vehicle that allowed you to grow and express yourself and impact others. Yet as you change your lifestyle, it's kind of like, okay, well, thanks, and you're grateful. You show them respect, and you literally show the company that I'm grateful for the time that you had me. I made these contributions. Try to build up your references, whatever is permitted by the company, and you just are positive that it was a stepping stone because it helped you to get to the awareness and realization of the other leg on your journey as you're designing your lifestyle and where you're wanting to go. So I'd love to see what you have below about that. How you changed your lifestyle, what kind of transition points you had, and I'll probably go more into downshifting in a subsequent clip. I want to thank you for listening. Have a great night.